Hello and welcome to our live stream from Oregon Weight and Wellness. I'm Dr. Julie Gilbert and I'm joined with Rachel Matthews. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here.
Yes, and we are going to continue our conversation. I was gonna say, Rachel.
What?
I remember after we finished yesterday or last time, I forgot to talk about what's for dinner. And so let's not forget that. Well, I'll try not to forget that this time. But anyway, let's talk about our next chapter in Michael Pollan's Food Rules. I think we're
chapter
on
30.
30. That's right. Yeah. What does Michael say in chapter 30?
So basically, eat well-grown food from healthy soil. There's a lot to unpack here because that seems really simple, but it's not as simple or as straightforward as it seems.
What is healthy soil, Rachel?
You know, when I think of healthy soil, there's been a lot of documentaries that, and there's a new one out actually that the guy he shows the difference between dirt and soil. These are different things. Dirt is flaky and cracked and it's deplete and it's not that it's necessarily dry, because soil can be dry, but it's soil is teeming with life. You pick it up and it crumbles in your hand, but there's all this organic matter and there's worms and bugs and it has a beautiful smell to it, and it's dark and rich. That's soil. Dirt is just dirt.
Right.
That's how I think about it.
Yeah, there's there's not life in it, as you mentioned, right? And it may not hold on to moisture like soil does.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it doesn't have the vitamins and the minerals. Well, probably the minerals more than vitamins. It doesn't really have the mineral content. And unfortunately, just over the years with and this is no judgment on farmers or people who make their living farming. It's just the way we farmed and huge crops, the monocropping, I think, has really stripped the soil of those minerals and has changed the microbiome, the bacteria, and probably decreased the worms and everything.
Yeah. It's interesting because when you're talking about minerals and vitamins and things, so, one of the things that I never really understood was B12, right? I used to think that it either came from meat or it came from a certain thing, but really it comes from the soil. Right? If your soil doesn't have vitamin, and back, hundreds of years ago, if you were eating plants and vegetables, we weren't as clean as we are now, right?
Clean.
And in many ways, that's good. Right. Yeah, clean. In many ways, that's good because we've avoided some diseases, right? These are good things. But then we've stripped a lot of our foods, our lettuce or our tomatoes are so clean, they have no remnant of the earth on them. Well, having that remnant, eating a little bit of dirt, right, so to speak, a little bit of the soil, that's where we would get B12. Now, of course, animals can make can eat the B12 and give it to us in their meat, but a lot of things that we used to get from the soil were in the soil and on the food, and we've stripped the soil of a lot of the things by monocropping, and we've stripped our food. We clean it so much that it doesn't even have any of the good stuff that we actually want.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting thought.
Yeah. I like his point that he does say that there are very exceptional farmers and ranchers in America who, for one reason or another, they have not gotten, certified organic. So apparently there's a big process that you have to go through for the government to label or for you to get that stamp of approval of certified organic. However, just because you have that doesn't mean that maybe everything is in the soil. And just because you don't have it doesn't mean you're not doing a good job raising your vegetables. Two good friends of mine come to mind, Matt and Cindy Borg, they had this gorgeous organic farm, and they raise beautiful organic vegetables, but they haven't gone to the hoops, to get their farm certified organic. Right. But everything that comes, all the produce that comes from them is just so vibrant, full of color, and that color is intense, and you can taste it, and you can taste the nutrition in it. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Another friend who comes to mind, a new friend of mine, her name's Kathleen, and she's got this gorgeous, huge greenhouse. And actually, I was visiting with her this last Friday, and she still has celery growing in her greenhouse. I know I had never seen I'd never seen a celery plant, but yeah, she had celery growing in her greenhouse. And you know what else she had growing? She had a pineapple growing in her greenhouse. Isn't that amazing?
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm used to seeing pineapple plants in maybe Hawaii, or actually I've seen them in Africa on my travels there. But yeah, she was able to change the environment enough to get it just right to grow a pineapple. It's pretty cool. So,
wow. That is very cool. Yeah, I love that example, and it's a reminder, even to me, because I'm still a new gardener. I'm still nothing was passed down from family members or anything. Everything I'm learning is from scratch, and so I'm so hungry to learn this, pun intended, because I want to be able to control more and have some things available to me year round. I'd love to have some hothouse tomatoes grown in my own soil and, in my own greenhouse, but I don't have that yet. But I love to hear other people's stories, and it encourages me. It inspires me that I can do it. I can start small and maybe kind of branch out with these other areas.
Yes, I'm definitely inspired by these two friends of mine who also happen to be friends. So, yeah, it's
something to your point I wanted to mention just really quick that you said, and I want to really make sure that people heard this who are listening, is that just because it's labeled organic doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you. And just because it's not labeled organic doesn't mean that it's not good for you, right? But you'd have to do your research. And so, I've heard these terrible stories of big industrial farms that get labeled organic. They go through all the hoops, and then I don't know how frequently they recheck to recertify, but in the meantime, they let their practices go because it's so expensive. So, but they have the label, so they're labeling their food organic, but they're no longer practicing all of the stringent practices that it takes to become certified organic,
right?
Until they have to re-up. So, gosh, there's just so much out there that we don't know, right? We try to trust these labels and these government certifying agencies, but we don't know. In the same way, how did you find out about your friends? How did you find out that they have basically an organic farm, but they're just not labeled organic?
Right. Well, I just asked them, and I asked them to show me. I mean, not in a challenging way, but just out of interest and just like you learning, like, oh wow, you do that? Really? Tell me more about that and what goes into your soil. And yeah, so it was just out of curiosity. And then of course, then they share also. Actually, we were over at my friend's house for dinner, and probably 70% of it was from her. I know that she had just recently harvested from her. I mean, it was like, wow. I mean, talk about from farm to table,
Yes.
Yeah, it was from her backyard to her table. It was pretty cool. So in the middle of winter, right. I guess we're not quite in winter yet, but it's kind of feeling like it today.
Yeah, that's impressive. That is definitely something to aspire to have some really amazing produce coming out of your garden year round, because it's possible, right? It just, little baby steps to learn it.
Right. And it's so flavorful. I don't know, I suppose that some of it is like I've added because I'm imagining how delicious this is, but no, there's true flavor there, and more than you would get from the grocery store. Now you mentioned doing your homework, and we can't always buy everything organic, but Rachel, you've heard, and maybe we've talked a little bit about the Environmental Working Group?
Yes.
And so I think that's worth mentioning again and what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So we've got I know that they put out the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, right?
Right.
So, and I believe that these are labels, lists that are updated as right? Because things change.
Yes.
And so basically the Clean 15 are going to be foods that are in general going to be safer for you to buy, organic or not. They're going to be overall less of a risk for having all the toxins, pesticides, herbicides. Oftentimes it's foods with a peel, because that peel's coming off. And so you're discarding that.
Like an avocado, for example.
Like an avocado. Exactly. And then the Dirty Dozen, this is going to be a list of produce where they're more delicate, more fragile, and more susceptible. And it's harder to remove the pesticides with washing, like a raspberry or a strawberry. Typically, these are on that Dirty Dozen because they're delicate and fragile in their growing environment. They take a lot of pesticides and herbicides. So those are the ones that they would recommend, if anything. If you can only afford a little bit of organic, looking to those, the Dirty Dozen as the ones that you should pick organic. Is that how you understand it?
Yeah, that's exactly how I understand it, because, eating organic can get expensive. However, we could talk about that. I think we mentioned that before, that spending money now helps me from spending money later on my health, so investing in what I ingest is very important to me.
Yes.
But yeah, so there's two things regarding organic. One is that we know that the soil should be more nutrient dense, because if the minerals are not in the soil, they cannot get into the plant. They're not in the soil, they won't get into the plant. So the plant from organic soil should be more nutrient dense. And the second part of that is that it won't have the pesticides, the toxins.
Yes.
So there's those two parts of that. And I do help people start buying organic by pointing them to that environmental working group that lists that Dirty Dozen. I think spinach is always on there,
Probably. Yes.
Probably potatoes are always on there. But yeah, so that can be a great place to start.
It's a great resource. And they have apps now, you can download the app. So and really there's another app I use. I think it's called Yuck, maybe just YUK. And it's an app that you can scan any barcode. So this is more along the line. We're getting out of like the food realm. It's more along the lines of like your shampoo and the cleaner that you're using in your home. And it will tell you like its rating, right? And how many dangerous chemicals are in it. But anyway, along those lines, there are so many apps you can download for free. There's a seafood watch, where you're going to get which are the fish that are going to be more environmentally friendly fish to eat, and which ones are going to be higher up on the food chain is going to be higher risk of toxin, lower on the food chain, lower risk. So use an app. You're in the grocery store. It's right there. You can kind of quickly check it out.
Right. Very good. Very good. So places to start to improving the quality of the food that you're eating. We're trying to get to more nutrient dense food, whole food, real food. And then within that real food, moving toward more organic when we are able to. And I think those lists are great places to start. So, all right. Well, having said all that, Rachel, tell us what's for dinner.
I'm excited about dinner tonight. So I'm at my sister's house. I'm staying the night here. We're having a girls' night and a little Christmas party with some cousins. And so she's planning a big batch. We've got carnivores in the family and not carnivores in the family. So what she's doing is a huge plant-based bean soup. I have no idea what's in it, but my sister is a master soup maker. I'm always like just amazed at what she comes up with and what she tosses in the flavors. So big batch of some sort of bean soup. I'm really excited about it because I'm not making it.
That is wonderful. Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. Yeah. It's going to taste better than if I made it. So yeah, I'm really excited about dinner. How about you? What's for dinner?
Well, I am also very excited because I don't have to cook dinner tonight because our son is home from college and he loves to cook. So
Gosh, that's cool.
Yes. So he found some wild rockfish, and he
Mm.
lets make fish tacos. And
Oh,
so we're gonna do fish tacos, and he's got this great way to season that fresh fish, and then also makes this cabbage slaw that's
yes.
super yummy. And so that's probably going to be the mainstay of our dinner tonight, fish tacos. So
Yum.
sometimes he even makes the tortillas from scratch.
Ooh.
I'm totally spoiled here, but
Yes.
it's a simple, very simple recipe. We use whole grain. We use Bob's Mill flour because it seems to be it's not stripped,
Right.
but it still has a high fiber content. And he adds just a little bit of salt, a little bit of warm water, and a little bit of avocado oil, and gets
Mm.
that. And he, rolls them out, and anyway, it's delicious. So
That's impressive.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
labor of love right there.
Yeah, it really is. So
Yeah.
we're spoiled and we know it. So, all right. And Rachel, we'll still get together next week, I think, because it's the 27th. Yeah, we're planning on getting together next week. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
we want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Enjoy times with your family, and you can celebrating each other, your families, and around whole and real food.
Yes, and can I just put a plug out there? I've got my Facebook group that I've got going, and a lot of the patients who are following, they know, and they're in the group. But all week I'm going live, and I'm posting tips and tricks on strategies of how to get through the holidays better, stronger, really specifically thinking about like the conversations that we have that are difficult during the holidays, or that there's going to be certain foods that, or you're going to, the propensity to eat too much, drink too much, not sleep enough, right? Not move enough. So we're talking about that all week in the Whole Life Hub. That's the name of the Facebook group. So if you're watching, just come join it. It's a free group, of course, that anybody can join. And I hope that you'll find some help for this week, right? To feel stronger and more prepared. That's the key is to be prepared.
That's right. Yes, that's exactly right. And we can have healthy holidays. So Rachel, thank you so much for that support, and we'll look forward to hearing your that encouragement from you. So, all right. Well, thanks so much, and until next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.